Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam Trailokyam Sacharacharam Tatpadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vedyat Ravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Jai Guru. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So where are we in our text?
Chapter 5, number 16.
Chapter 5, number 16. Deepa, will you help us out?
Yes. My screen suddenly went dark. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. We can hear you.
Yeah, we can see you also.
It's 16, right?
Yes, 16.
Yeah. Jnanena tu tad jnanam yesham nashitam atmana tesham aditya vajnanam prakashayati tatparam. But to those whose ignorance is destroyed by the knowledge of the self, like the sun, to them knowledge reveals the Supreme or Brahman.
So we've been talking about this knowledge. So this is a secret. We're actually talking about two kinds of knowledge. The first knowledge is the self-evidence of the self itself. How do you know that you are you? You do not see, hear, taste, touch, smell, emote, or think yourself. How do you know you are you? I don't know, I just know. That's right. You will never see yourself as an object. Oh, the self went by. No. Yet you are not unknown. The great cosmic joke is everybody already has it. The most miserable of creatures, if you ask them, do you exist? Yes, I exist. What's your existence? Misery. Do you know you're miserable? Oh, do I know I'm miserable? Let me tell you all about it. But they always thunder, I am, I know. On top of that is the illusory self, ahankara, jiva bhavana, chichaya, has many different names. the phony self, where I think I'm the body, when in fact, I know the body just like I know every object. Look at some object in the room in front of you. There's a subject-object relationship. You are not that object. You are the knower of that object. Now take a deep breath. Do you not know the breath in the body? Do you have an ache or a pain in the body? Do you not know the ache or the pain? Whatever sensations are going on, you know them. The body is not self-luminous. You know the body, just like you've known all the objects in the room. But such is our ignorance that I superimpose on the self the qualities of the not-self. I'm tall, I'm short, I'm male, I'm female, I'm smart, I'm stupid, I'm happy, I'm unhappy, I'm confused, I'm certain, whatever those things are. When in fact yourself is Chidakash, the space of pure awareness, untouched by any of the phenomena. Now, listen carefully. Both bondage and liberation occur to the mind. The self is ever free. The self is not what gets liberated. It's my stupid mind. Right now, I think I'm the body. It is much like when I'm dreaming, I think I'm the character in the dream. On awakening, it goes poof, it's gone. Oh, phew, thank God that was an illusion. So this feeling that I'm a person, this feeling that I'm like the body, is something that's imagined by the mind. There is no other liberation than the deeply rooted conviction based on direct experience. Not that I'm a realized person. Listen carefully. If you think you're a realized person, you're still a fool. Only two kinds of people in the world: those who think they're a person and those who know they are Brahman. So this deep insight in the mind, oh, there's nobody there in the space between my thoughts, with the attentive faculty turned within. When I notice the knower, oh, Chidakash, the space of pure awareness, that ego sense falls.
Jim, I have a question.
Yes.
So when this ego sense falls, does the space between the thoughts basically increase, or that just stays the same and we're aware of the fact that we're not
it's only a technique. That's all it is. It is a way for the mind to recognize what's true. It's not about grasping onto empty space. That's not the goal. The goal is to be certain in my mind about what my essential nature is. So we have paroksha jnana, indirect knowledge. You hear it from the guru, you read it in the scriptures. I intellectually know I am Brahman. but that's not yet my direct experience. So I've got to keep thinning the mind and turning the mind's eye inward, shine the light of the mind back on its source until you have that experience. Oh, there's nothing there. If you haven't had that experience yet, no blame. Keep doing the practices of the qualifications of a fit student. But the goal is not to run around with no thought. That it's not a matter of being insensible. But when the mind finally gets, I'm not a person, then it's convinced nothing's going to harm me. Nothing's going to affect me. I am birthless, changeless, and deathless. And I finally know where happiness is. Happiness is freedom from craving, freedom from attachment. Does that make it clearer, Atik?
Yes, yes, a little bit clearer. Thank you.
So these states where we have the space between our thoughts, it is only the state wherein my true nature is initially apprehended. Once you see what it is, you never lose it. I take that back. There are times when ignorance returns for some of us. It's like when you look into a pool of water and there's a breeze and the surface of the water is agitated and you cannot see your reflection. And then the breeze dies and the water stills and you see your face. Oh, that's what I look like. Now, the presence or absence of the agitated water had nothing to do with your face. But nobody can see their own face. You can only see the reflection of your face. So basically what happens is the mind still gets confused. It still doesn't let go of that personal sense of self until we have these moments of quiescence. Doesn't need to be for a long period. This is called pratyabhijnanam, or recognition. This is when the buddhi, the intellect, becomes awake, buddha. This is when a person rediscovers what they've always been. I thought I was a person with breath in his nostrils. I had all these problems and I kept needing to fix me or fix the world. Oh, that was just something my mind made up. The truth is, Chidananda Rupaham, my form, my nature is bliss consciousness. Is that a little clearer?
Yes, Jim.
Good question. Good question. So this knowledge in the mind, the aparoksha jnanam, the direct experience, is what frees us. So what is it that gets liberated? Moksha, mukti. It's not the self. The self is already free. The self is already liberated. What gets liberated is my stupid mind. The lifetimes, because of Maya, I thought I was a person. Or before that, maybe a grizzly bear, or a deer, or a moth. Who knows? I did not know that my essential nature was Krishna, was Allah. Next verse.
तद्बुद्धयस्तदात्मान अस् अस्तिन्नष्टास्तत्परायणा गच्छन्त्य पुनरावृत्तिं ज्ञाननिर्धूतकल्मषा. Intellect absorbed in that, their self being that, established in that, with that for their supreme goal, they go whence there is no return, their spins dispelled by knowledge.
Yes. So when the mind thunders to a stop, when it becomes no mind because the thoughting has ceased. So we want to make sure our knowledge isn't just from the neck up. It's got to include the heart. How does the heart express its ignorance? Through struggling. So when the intellect is quiet, all our strivings cease. The mind stops. And that thunderous peace, that thunderous quiet, that equanimity is available. There's no person there anymore. Then if the mind tries to reassert itself, we don't, no, 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 no. I know you are not real. Jao, get out. Chidanandarupaham. My form is bliss consciousness, and I practice that. Not just say the words, but I enter in. Now it's difficult on the Zoom machine, but if you're here, there's a gestalt that happens with the teacher and the student and the bridge, the say to the scriptures. And if we're doing it effectively, everything tunes out. And we have that sacred space. And we are shown the awakened state of God. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Usually, if it doesn't work, it's because the mind of the student is still too gross. They're still too caught up with I-ness and minus for their minds to drop. Going back to what we were talking about before class, they need to do more attention to the qualifications of a fit student, to really earnestly practice them. That's different than just reading them. Got to endeavor to practice.
I have a question, Jim.
Sure.
So when we're endeavoring to practice more shama and dhamma, are we utilizing the intellect and the mind, and we're intentionally turning it inward or
Yes,
in a question rather than letting it just do what it feels like doing and get
that is
from it?
correct. That is correct.
Thank you.
Yes, it is tapas. Tapas literally means heat. It's usually translated as austerity, but it is the energy we use to turn the mind from its habituated flows of thought first into more positive flows of thought, but at this point, turning it completely within, beyond all thought. Many people get confused that there is a difference between the indulgent part of the mind and the intuitive part of the mind. Yes, for the man or woman of realization, they act spontaneously. They follow the flow of life. But this is preceded by diligent practice to remove the tyranny of the indulgent part of the mind. I must have it this way. I'll never have it that way. Who do you think I am? You're trying to control me. I me mine, gimme, gimme, gimme. All that stuff, that raga, dvesha, all has to be silenced. That takes discipline. That's called tapas. We don't just let the mind go willy-nilly. Any thoughts on that? Any questions?
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
I have a young man that I'm working with, and his whole family are devotees of Meher Baba. And he thought he was being spiritual by just following his indulgences. I'm going with the flow of life. I'm living in the now. I'm letting the winds of life just blow me wherever. There is truth to that at the highest level. But what he ended up doing is getting into drugs and alcohol and lying, cheating, and stealing and hurting other people and not keeping commitments and welching on finances and things like that. He was an absolute train wreck. And that's not spirituality. That's not liberty, that's license. There's a big difference. Put on your big boy pants, show up and be a grown-up. You start there. All right, any other questions on this? Very good questions, Atik.
Thank you, Jim.
Next verse.
Vidya Vinaya Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Hastini Shuni Chaiva Shwapake Cha Pandita Samadarshina. Sages look within, sages look with an equal open, sages look with an equal eye upon a Brahmana endowed with learning and humility, on a cow, on an elephant, and even on a dog and an outcast.
So a little bit of racism here, but we'll set it aside. The idea here is a man or woman of knowledge, and even the yogi who aspires to this liberation, practices looking at everyone and everything with an equality of vision. And these are universal truths. So one of the things Pope Leo said before he was elected Pope, when he was still just a cardinal bishop, J.D. Vance said, well, we have to have layers of love. First, you love your family, and then you love your community, and then you love your country, and then other people, maybe. And Father Prevost said, no, Jesus does not ask us to rank our love. We are asked to love everyone as God loves everyone. So this comes spontaneously for the person of realization. But for you and me, we practice it, knowing that it's the nature of the mind to have judgments. I like this person and I don't like that person, and the rest of you can all just go to hell. I don't care about you. So what we want to practice is whoever is in front of us, we endeavor to love them. We endeavor to accept them just as they are. Now, this doesn't mean to be a doormat. Doesn't mean we don't speak truth to power. But we have to be very careful that where we're not coming from is reactivity. How can you say that to me? That's not samadrisha. That's not equality of vision. Let me see if I can give an example. So how many people report to you, Deepa? 20-something, I think you said?
35.
35, okay. So if someone has a task and they're not performing it as it needs to be done, what is your job as a manager? What do?
I have to tell them what they are not doing so that they can do it.
But do you feel like, oh, you're an idiot, you're bad, you're a terrible person?
No, not unless they keep not doing it. And then it's still not idiocy. It's just other human attributes. It's usually, they're not idiots, usually.
Yeah. In other words, your job is to love them, but that doesn't mean you don't correct them.
Yeah.
In fact, if you're a good manager, you want to start from the place, I want you to succeed. I want you to do really, really well in your job. In fact, I'll even support you getting the promotion.
Yeah.
But you've got to suit up and show up and do the work. Isn't that the attitude?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you got to be careful here. It doesn't mean that we're coming from a place of, first of all, I want you to like me. There's motorcycles going by. Real love is wishing genuinely the well-being of the other. So here he says, whether it's a person of high station or low station, or a cow or a dog, whether you're to give a fantastic speech or you're cleaning the toilets, whatever it is, everything is a manifestation of the infinite. And you don't wait for it to happen. We practice it. I jokingly like to say God has no taste. God loves people that you and I would have nothing to do with. But our job is to love as God loves. This profligate, indiscriminate love. One of the slogans I love. What is my job to do in this life? Spend myself in love. That's what I'm here to do. Spend myself in love. And it's progress, not perfection for most of us. We work at it. Any thoughts on this? So I might as well respond to what Atik said earlier, because it fits right in. He asked me about titiksha, which means forbearance, the capacity to endure the vicissitudes of life without the need for redress or revenge. Because there are people in the world who are going to say and do unjust things. The world and its people are oftentimes quite wrong. But that's as far as most of us ever get. So here is the way through. First of all, I am never a victim. Yoga says we do not get what we want. We do not get what we need. We get the inevitable results of our past actions, most of which have been done in ignorance. I'm not a bad or an evil person. I've just been an ignorant person. I didn't know what the consequences of this would be karmically. So whatever comes to me is the force of the past maturing. Nobody else did it. So I have what I call the point of power. This is titiksha. Usually for the person in ignorance, when I'm wronged, I get defensive. I get vengeful. I want to hurt the other person who's hurt me. What the yogi does is stop. Return good for evil. This is not easy to do. Again, this doesn't mean being a doormat, but it means in my heart, I take responsibility. All the things that happen to me. And the point of power is how I choose to respond rather than react to it. Not easy. Again, it's a practice. It's a practice. Any thoughts on this? All right, what about the opposite? What if somebody says, you have done this to me, you haven't respected me, you've treated me badly? You take a look, okay? If I've hurt or harmed somebody, you apologize, I'm sorry. And then you move on. If you need to right a wrong, make an amend, you do it. Nothing in life is so important that we lose our peace of mind. Now, listen very carefully. I've been doing this work for 50 years plus. If I thought punishing ourselves was an effective tool for spiritual growth, I might suggest it to someone. But in these 50 years, I've never seen anyone benefit from this self-abuse, this self-punishment, when the mind goes, why did I do that? I'm such an awful person. I made a mistake. I'm just a piece of poop that the whole world revolves around, is where it usually goes. It doesn't solve anything. Haven't told this story in a while. We're going back many years, maybe 10. And many of you know I'm legally blind, so I don't see well. I haven't seen my toes in 25 years. So I go to the nail salon and get a mani-pedi to have my nails trimmed, because I can't see them, I can't do it. And I was at this one nail salon up on Lakeshore. There was a young gal, and I think she was new. And she was working on my big toe on my right foot, and she inadvertently stabbed it with the little pointy thing. It was bleeding. Poor gal, she was horrified. So she holds up her hand and takes the poker thing and stabs her own thumb. As if that's going to make my toe stop bleeding. It was crazy. But many of us do that mentally to ourselves. Like I say, if I'd ever seen it happen once where someone had any value from punishing themselves, might recommend it as a tool. But in all those years, never have I seen anyone benefit from it. Any thoughts on this?
So it comes back to the unaware mind that thinks that, oh, I need to revenge, I need to respond, I need to defend. And as we develop Shama, Dhamma, Uparati, then
and Titiksha, that's the next one.
Titiksha will get stronger because we won't.
Exactly. You let it go through. If someone's critical of you, take a good look. Is their criticism justified? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. If their criticism is justified, I try to be teachable. Thank you for your input. And then let it go. Endeavor to do better.
And you said, don't be a doormat. So that's, I think, for me, I hear that as like, I think it's a fine line between, well, let me make this up to you, or I'm sorry and I won't do it again. And then, actually, you were saying when they hurt you, like you give them
Well,
love.
when we say, let me make it up to you, did you say something unkind? If you did, you apologize. If you forgot to take the trash out, you say, I'm sorry, I'll go take the trash out. But what else can we do? How do you make it up to them? What was the infraction that you have to make up? What did you do?
Right. And you were saying love them back. How do I love them but not people please? Like, I wonder
Love
about that.
is generally wishing the well-being of the other. Keep
Okay.
your definition of love clear.
Wishing the well-being of other. Okay.
Of the other, yes. And probably the best thing we can do to not hurt or harm other people is just try not to be a jerk. That goes a long way in my book. Endeavor to be kind. Endeavor to be truthful. Endeavor to show up as a person of your word. When you say you're going to be here at such and such a time, you do it. When you say you're going to pay this bill, do that. But you don't try to fix other people. They're unhappy. It's my fault. It's my job to fix them. Just like I am responsible for all of my reactions. It's a spiritual axiom that if I'm disturbed, no matter the cause, I'm the one with the attachment. I'm the one with the identification. I'm the one with the expectation. But if they are upset, that's their karma. Frequently, we do things that upset people, which is different than when we do things to hurt them. You and I may just be living our lives, and somebody else gets upset by it. I'm sorry you got upset by it. It's not my job to walk on eggshells. Does that make it clearer, Atik?
Yes, Jim, thank you.
And these are, again, practices. We're not going to necessarily do these perfectly overnight. It's progress, not perfection. We work at it. We work at it. So the main point in Titiksha is for us to take responsibility for our own emotional states. And also not to falsely take on the emotional states of others. I'm not that powerful. I've got enough work to do in this life to do my own yoga. Sorry, I can't do yours. And that doesn't mean we don't have genuine sorrow when someone else is suffering. Of course we do. But that doesn't mean we have the compulsion to fix it. Any other thoughts on this subject? Next verse.
Ihaiv terjita sargo yesham samye sitam mana nirdosham hi samam brahma tasmad brahmani te sthita. Even here in this world, birth is overcome by those whose minds rest in equality. Brahman is spotless indeed and equal. Therefore, they are established in Brahman.
So this is very interesting. In the Semitic religions, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, the goal is immortality. I, as a corporeal person, am going to go to heaven. And I'll be with Allah, I'll be with Jesus, I'll be with God. This idea of the immortality of the individuality. In Hinduism, moksha or liberty is described as freedom from birth. So if I'm caught up in spiritual ignorance, I go through this life accruing my dose of punya, merit, and papam, sins or demerits. After I die, I go to some loka, means like a place, a bardo, and work out a little bit of the unresolved karmas, and then impelled by the force of the past, I take birth again. And the whole idea is life, the way most people live it, is suffering. Now, we want to look at freedom from birth, freedom from suffering from two viewpoints. Of course, the person of realization has removed the cause for reincarnation. Or we can look at it when I have realized myself. Aham Brahmasmi, I am that Brahman. I see I was never born in the first place. Just like if I'm in the dream and I have some terrible task that I'm trying to solve in the dream state, I can wake up. And then the whole thing's gone. Oh, I was never in prison. Really, it was just a dream. So also, the person of realization understands all the suffering that the egocentric personality goes through. It's just a very long and very vivid dream. So we always look at it from those two standpoints. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Na prahishyet priyam prapya no dvijet prapya chapriyam sthira buddhir samudho brahm vid brahmani sthita. Resting in Brahman with steady intellect and undiluted, the knower of Brahman neither rejoices on obtaining what is pleasant, nor grieves on obtaining what is unpleasant.
So there's the story in the scriptures, and I think it's in Yoga Vasishta, where there was a fellow and he was digging in his field and he came upon the Chintamani. This is the wish fulfilling gem. If you have it, you can, it's like the Aladdin's lamp. Rub it and the genie will give you anything you want. But not knowing what it was, he discards it and he keeps rooting around in his field and he finds some pieces of broken colored glass. And in his ignorance, he thinks they are precious jewels. So this is what so many of us do. The Chintamani, the wish-fulfilling gem, is my own self-nature. It is the fountainhead, the source, the wellspring of all real joy. The scriptures say, Ramananda Rasaswad, taste the juice of the bliss of Brahma. But for most of us, we don't even know it exists. And even if we know it exists, oh, this is too hard for me. I'd rather have cheesecake. I'd rather have lots of girlfriends or boyfriends. I'd rather have more money. I'd rather have the house. In this truth, all those are like pieces of broken glass, trinkets and baubles. There's nothing substantive. There's nothing real. So the Sthita Prajna, the person of steady wisdom, pleasant things come, she enjoys, and then they go. But it's like adding a thimbleful of water to the ocean. Unpleasant things come, you deal with it. But it doesn't rob them of this deep, deep, abiding peace, which comes as a result of detachment. Any thoughts on this? All right, next verse.
बाह्यस्पर्शेष्वसक्तात्मा विन्दत्यात्मनि यत्सुखम् स ब्रह्म योगयुक्तात्मा सुखमक्षयमश्नुते. With the self unattached to external contacts, he finds happiness in the self. With the self engaged in the meditation of Brahman, he attains endless happiness.
Yes, so many ways to look at this. So the truth is, myself is always asangaha, unattached to anything. So what do I have to do? I have to prove this to myself through the day, frequently, moments where I stop and just tune up the mind and look within. Yep, myself, it's still there, just the space of pure awareness, over and over again, until I'm absolutely convinced I never changes. I'm free. I can't be diminished. Can't be improved. And if someone says, "Oh, you're such a fantastic person. You're so good. You're so kind. You're so successful," you just let it pass through. Aham Brahmasmi. I'm Brahman. And then when, not if, someone says, "You're a terrible person. You've got bad habits. You're so messed up. You're crazy." Just let it pass through. Aham Brahmasmi. Satchidananda Rupaham. My nature is pure existence, consciousness, and bliss absolute. Asangoham. I am unattached. This is called jnana abhyasa, the practice of knowledge. Until, hopefully, after you've developed the daily practice of meditation, you've been practicing your viveka, vairagya, shama, dhamma, upadati, titiksha. There'll be moments in your meditation of real equanimity, of equipoise. When the mind reaches that, don't disturb it. And it will pass. It's okay. But it will do two things. First, it will reveal to you that your essential nature is not only like space, but is supremely peaceful. And then it undercuts this ruthless rule of the mind. The ruthless rule of the mind is the mind will return to the experience that's given it the greatest security, the greatest joy, the greatest happiness. And it's always frustrated in the world because it's always so temporary. Temporary. Thank God, God is the most beloved, or we'd all be screwed. So if we have moments, deep peace, and the same ruthless rule of the mind that used to drive it into the world starts to drive it home. Oh, I want more of this. Then I began to become a mumukshu, seeker after liberation. I have moments of atmaramana, revelry in the self. Or as I said in the last verse, Brahmananda Rasaswa, this tasting of the juice of the bliss of Brahman. Next verse.
Hey Google, turn on the lights.
Pardon me?
Lights on.
Sorry, I was just turning my lights on.
You can do it with a voice command?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukhayo evate adyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate buddha. The enjoyments that are born of contacts are only generators of pain. for they have a beginning and an end. O son of Kunti, the wise do not rejoice in them.
So, the foolish person is unhappy, and they think I'm unhappy because I'm not getting what I want. And then they may get an object of desire, a person, place, thing, or situation, and they get really happy. I rejoice. Oh, I got my widget. But they don't pay much attention to the fact that it's always finite and temporary. And after a moment, leaves us wanting more. I used to love what Swamiji used to say. If sex were satisfying, we'd only do it once. Most of us get caught up in more. Something is good. Too much of a good thing is marvelous. Give me more. Anything worth doing is worth overdoing. Give me more. That's most of our minds. Everybody. Oh, there's a funny car thing going on. So the yogi understands deeply that it's the longing itself, it's the attachment itself that is painful. What's it feel like to want something you don't have? It hurts. There is no other suffering than wanting something you don't have, or the reverse form of it, I want to get rid of something that I don't like, or the really crazy one, fear. I have what I want, but I'm afraid I'm going to lose it. Now, some of us have physical ailments. Let's set those aside. Those are rarely what really afflicts a person. What usually afflicts us is our mental states. And they're always rooted in kama, craving, trishna, thirsting, dvesha, aversion, bhaya, fear. Once I see that that's the cause, samudaya satya, the truth of the arising of sorrow, then rather than doing something that doesn't work, give me more, I start to cultivate the qualities of a yogi, which reduces the number of desires entertained, their intensity. So I have what's underneath all that craziness, taste of my self-nature, which is peace, which is joy. Now, such is the power of Maya. Having heard this truth over and over and over again, having some experience, tasting the bliss of my own self-nature, still I forget. Give me bigger house. Give me girlfriend. Give me boyfriend. Let me get rid of girlfriend. Let me get rid of boyfriend. Get me a different job. Different car. Different government. Always externalize the bliss of our self-nature outside. That drives the mind into kartavya, struggling, obligatory action. That's what suffering is. There is no more fruitful meditation than as we walk through the world, pay attention to my suffering, own it. See if you can notice I'm suffering because I'm wanting. Own your ananda. When a desire and object of desire become one, for a moment the mind is freed from its longing. It always tastes the same. It will vary in intensity and duration, but I get confused and fooled by the diversity of sensory experience. Happiness is happiness. It's always tasting the same. Any thoughts on this? All right, next one.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
I've been studying this for a while, and I understand that the whole attachment and the bigger, better, more, or bigger, better, different, right? Something is an attachment of the mind. But sometimes I do wonder, like, the complaint does not come from sometimes the complaints don't come from a conscious place, right? Like, it's just a subconscious, or like maybe it's biological response to something, like it's too hot or whatever, right? Like it could be. What does one do of things that are not preferences or not ego driven, but yet it is a craving and an aversion? You know what I mean?
Let's break it down. So first thing, if we're regular meditators, one of the fruits of meditation is the unloading of the unconscious. The unconscious becomes conscious. So we're less driven by unconscious things. We're not passive aggressive. So that's the first thing. Meditation will help with that. Psychotherapy will help with that. Helps make the unconscious conscious. Now, let's take a practical thing. You said, like, it's hot. Okay, so it's hot. You've got some choices. Turn on the fan. Turn on the air conditioner. Well, I don't have a fan and I don't have an air conditioner. So what's my practice? My practice is acceptance. Quit resisting the fact that it's hot. Endeavor to just open into the heat. Be with it. Be present to it. And you'll find that it reduces itself just to sensation. The suffering comes, I hate it when it's hot. I'm sweating and I don't like to sweat it. Oh, that all that nattery stuff. We add to the direct experience. Let's say you're fatigued. With all the health challenges you have, there are some days when you're just wiped out. Isn't that the truth?
Yeah, all the time.
So you have some choices. You could, first of all, be solution-oriented. Pay attention to the medical people. Do what things you can do to see if you can get some healing. But in the now, you're probably going to suffer less if you can just accept the fact. So, Deepa, I'm going to be 77 soon. I cannot do lots of tasks in a day anymore. I just don't have the energy. So I schedule fewer things. I don't have an unrealistic view of my energy level. You know? Acceptance. Now, there's a prayer that we have in the 12-step traditions called the Serenity Prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. There are many, many things in life I just can't change. There are some things I can. My job is discernment. What can I change? What can I not? But as yogis, we start with the supposition I can have peace of mind no matter what the externals are. Is that useful?
Yeah, I think that message of, how Priya put it, like radical continuous acceptance.
Yeah.
It keeps coming back to acceptance or radical acceptance of everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is the definition of the word acceptance? The acknowledgement of a material fact. Doesn't mean I have to like it.
Yeah.
I just have to acknowledge this is a material fact. Now, frequently, we can't begin to change until we do that. For example, the alcoholic cannot begin to get well until he admits and accepts the fact that he's a drunk. The celiac cannot hope to have a gut that works until they accept the fact I'm gluten sensitive. So acceptance then also allows us to move into being solution oriented. If we don't accept what's really going on, our ways of trying to deal with our discomfort are usually not effective.
Very true.
All right, we're over. We'll end here. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Sri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari